Last week, one developer finished an app he had been building for 4 months in 2 nights. Same week, same model. Another developer hit his entire usage cap in 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Claude Fable 5 is back. And the biggest thread on the Claude subreddit right now asks one simple question: what are you actually doing with it? About 150 comments came back, and they do not agree on anything. Half of them call it God tier. The other half literally call it a scam. Here is the strange part. After reading every single comment, I think both sides are telling the truth. Because whether Fable 5 feels like a superpower or a waste of money comes down to a handful of moves that the happy half all seem to know. This is the honest verdict and the survival playbook from the people actually driving it. First, 30 seconds of context, because the timeline explains the panic. Fable 5 launched on June 9th as the first model in the new Claude 5 family. 3 days later, export controls froze it worldwide, mid flight, with people's projects half finished. On June 30th, those controls lifted. And on July 1st, Anthropic switched it back on for everyone. But read the fine print. On Pro, Max, and Team plans, Fable 5 is included for up to 50% of your weekly usage limit, only through July 7th. After that, it moves to usage credits, which is pay as you go. Anthropic says it expects Fable to return to subscriptions once there is enough capacity. But nobody knows exactly when. So the community is treating this week like a heist window. And that urgency is exactly why this thread is so honest. Start with the believers, because the wins are real. The most upvoted use case is whole repository work. One user wrote, overhauled every repo I have got. It is incredible. Another finished a 4-month app in 2 nights and said the plan's Fable writes are articulate, concise, terse even. My favorite story is the developer who spent 6 hours trying to get Opus 4.8 to build a daily briefing across his calendars and inboxes. It kept randomly missing events. He gave Fable 2 prompts. It fixed the whole thing by taking a completely different approach to the calendar access. And a finance user fed it a massive dataset that Opus repeatedly choked on. Fable built the model without blinking. The pattern here is size. The bigger and messier the task, the further Fable pulls away. The second pattern is judgment, not writing code, judging it. One user ran a fresh eyes security review against the OWASP top 10 across a code base mostly written by Sonnet and said it was worth burning an entire session in 3 prompts. Another had it surface enterprise level, state management problems he did not even know he had. And it goes way beyond code. A construction company owner says Fable reads blueprints better than any previous Claude model, well enough to check an estimator's work. A writer dropped in a story. Where Sonnet flagged grammar, Fable flagged plot holes. One user fact-checked an entire textbook. So the verdict from the happy half is clear. Fable 5 is not a faster typist. It is a better thinker. Big context, hard judgment, real review. And honestly, the thread is having fun. Half the replies are developers posting, check out my new app at localhost 3000, which if you know, you know. That link only works on their own machine. Someone replied, you missed the .com at the end. Someone else shared their password because, quote, I did not see a password field. Vibe coders are thriving. But scroll past the jokes and the thread takes a hard turn. Because the angry half is not making things up either. There are 3 specific nightmares, and you need to know all 3 before you spend a single token. Nightmare 1, the token furnace. Fable 5 burns usage like nothing Anthropic has ever shipped. One user reports hitting usage caps after 6 minutes. Another, on the top tier Max plan, ran through his entire allowance in a few hours. One person hit their limit for the first time ever from building a single skill. And the wildest one, a user burned nearly his whole 5-hour window plus extra credits inside the thinking stage. before Fable even started writing the answer. This is not a bug. It is what a Mythos class model costs to run. But it means the worst possible way to use Fable is the way you use every other model: casual, back and forth chat. Every wasted message is real money. Nightmare 2, and this is the one making people furious: the downgrade. Fable 5 ships with extra safeguards because it is the same underlying model as Mythos 5, which is restricted to a set of approved organizations. Anthropic added an improved safety classifier that now blocks a reported bypass technique in over 99% of cases. And when that classifier flags your request, it does not refuse. Anthropic says you get a notice and your request is sent to Opus 4.8 instead. But miss that notice and you have no idea. A different model just did your work, which is why the thread calls it the silent downgrade. The problem is who it catches. AI researchers report being downgraded on almost every prompt. The classifier appears to watch for anything that looks like building or training other AI models. Biology has it worst. One RNA researcher says every biology prompt gets kicked. Another user tried 6 different ways to get a gene sequencing pipeline reviewed. Downgraded all 6 times. One person joked, "I am a plumber, so I use Fable to look up cookie recipes, since it downgrades every useful request anyway." If your work touches those domains, you are effectively paying Fable prices for Opus answers. Know that before you spend. Nightmare 3. It is not better at everything. A developer working on a high-end graphics engine said Fable ignored clear instructions and performed no better than Opus. A finance user refining a merger model called it not worth the price difference for my use case. And on a simple mockup app, one user caught it using VR for every variable in JavaScript. An elementary mistake it had to be told to fix. So here is the honest synthesis. On small, ordinary, well understood tasks, Fable is barely distinguishable from Opus 4.8, which several users pointed out is quietly excellent these days. The premium only pays off at the extremes. Huge context, deep review, the bugs nothing else can find, which means the winning strategy basically writes itself. Quick pause before the playbook. The majority of people watching this channel are not subscribed. If this breakdown is saving you tokens and money, subscribing is free. It takes 1 second and it tells me to keep doing this research for you. Hit the button and let us get to the part that changes how you use Fable. The survival playbook. 6 moves straight from the users who are winning. Move 1, the big one. Fable is the architect, not the bricklayer. The moderator summary of the thread says it outright. Use Fable as a high-level project manager and delegate the actual coding to Opus. That is exactly what the smart users do. One has Fable lead repository reviews, bug hunts and feature planning, then documents everything and hands implementation to Opus or Sonnet. Another calls it setting the foundation for dumber models to build better output. In practice, start Fable in plan mode. Let it think architect and write the spec. Then switch models to execute. Move 2. Spend Fable on judgment, not typing. One big audit prompt asking it to review your code base for security, performance, and state management issues returns more value than 50 small coding prompts that burn the same tokens. Move 3. Load the prompt before you fire it. One user's trick. Ask Opus to interview you first to build the perfect prompt. Then hand that finished prompt to Fable. Every clarifying question Fable has to ask you is money spent on discovery instead of thinking. So front load everything: the files, the constraints, the goal. That way, its expensive reasoning lands on the actual problem. Move 4. Learn your triggers. If your prompts touch training AI models, biology, chemistry, or security research, assume the classifier may reroute you. Check which model actually answered before you trust the output. And do not burn your window arguing with the router. If your domain trips it, route that work to Opus deliberately and save Fable for everything else. Move 5. Ride the window. Do not graze it. Fable is included until July 7th, capped at half your weekly limit. So the winner's batch. The developer who shipped his 4-month app timed 2 focused overnight sessions against his 5-hour windows and finished before each reset. Stack your hardest problems now, the ones Opus has failed on. Then feed them to Fable in 1 or 2 deep sessions. Move 6. Review it like a junior wrote it. The same thread that praises Fable is full of people asking it for honest second reviews of work that Claude previously called groundbreaking. Fable is the best reviewer Anthropic has ever shipped. So point it at its own output. And here is the quiet bonus. When the window closes on July 7th, you keep every spec, plan, and document it wrote. That is the leave behind that keeps paying you. So, the final verdict. God tier and scam are both true. It depends entirely on how you drive it. Architect, not bricklayer. Judgment, not typing. Batch, verify, and know your triggers. I have packed all of this into a free PDF called the Fable 5 Survival Kit. The 6 moves, the exact audit prompts, the downgrade trigger list, and the token saving checklist. Comment the word verdict on this video, and I will send it to you. And if you are starting out and want structured help, I have 4 guides for people who are serious. My beginner's guide to Claude Code, the OpenAI Codex guide, Claude for Sales, and the Claude Certified Architect Prep Kit. All linked in the description. Then do 3 quick things. Subscribe here on YouTube. Follow Hyperautomation Labs on Instagram. And follow the Facebook page. Because I break these down the moment they drop. Quick tip. This video plays great at 1.25 speed. Full credit to the Claude subreddit community for the receipts. The thread is linked below. Comment verdict, and I will see you in the next one.